I'm sure people who have heard me or have seen my comments on YouTube would wonder why a black man has typically an image of a character like Rogue as an avatar. Since me, I'm a black man, so you would think, why would he use the image of a white woman or a white cartoon character or a comic book character as his avatar? And if I haven't explained this before already on this channel, I first of all, I love female characters. That's my first love when it comes to comic books or animation or whatever. I'm all about female characters, and I hardly follow any male characters. Even though when I try to create my own stories, of course I have. Um, Typically, I have a male lead character as well. I mean, a female and a male, or just a male. But the female characters are my first love, and I guess the if I had to rank my favorites in tiers, Rogue would be in the top tier. If she's not my favorite character of all time, she is second. And I say second. I can't drop her down to third. The only character that she has competition with is probably Aiko, and I'll talk about Aiko at another time. But I think Lucasfilm could learn a lesson about creating a strong female character who isn't boring because she's overpowered or doesn't face challenges or anything like that. Rogue is like the I think Rogue is as popular as Rogue is, she's still underrated. She's still underrated as a character who should be up there in the list of greatest female characters ever. And I think actually, if you probably did a poll of people, I mean, she may not be in the public consciousness as much, but even though the X-Men properties have been in movies and cartoons for a while, she still may not be in the public consciousness very much. But I think she would get mentions if you were to just do a poll of people and ask them what are like the, let's say, 10 greatest female characters of fiction. Or maybe not 10, or not just fiction, but comic books and superhero movies and stuff like that. In that crowd, I think Rogue will still come up in that high. Of course, most people are going to say Wonder Woman, but to me, actually, Rogue is a better character than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, if you ask me, she simply has the benefit of being associated with Batman and Superman. If you ask me, that's why she's ranked as high as she is. But there are many, many female characters who are much better than Wonder Woman is. Um, so, but as for what makes Rogue so compelling, at least to me, was not just her strength, but her beauty and her personality, because she's very feminine. She's not, you would think if she was on a team of five, let's say you would have characters like Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Storm, and even Beast. I just say a team of six. Then put her on a team like that. She's physically the strongest member of that team, and not just that, but you could say power wise, she's the strongest member of that team. But she doesn't actually come across that way. But people who actually know her and understand the true nature of her power, you look at her and you say she's the strongest one out of everybody. But she may not show it, but she is capable of beating, I would say, that entire team by her, not, yeah, by herself. I say she could do it. In my opinion, I believe she could do it. But she doesn't come across that way. She doesn't carry herself as someone who could take down an entire team of superheroes, even though she has done it a couple of times before. She's beaten the Avengers, and she has beaten the Avengers. I think she beat them twice. And so in her first her debut in Avengers Annual. I can't remember which one it was, but she debuted as a villain. She took out the Avengers on her own, and during X-Men versus the Avengers, she beat the Avengers again. But she doesn't carry herself as someone who is the most powerful character in the world. She's very humble. She's very what do you call it? She's a sweetheart, and I should don't want to keep you staring at the same images all the time. And the reason why is because one of the reasons why, at least, is because her powers are also her curse. See, because what she does is making contact, making physical contact with somebody, bare skin. She is able to absorb their psyche, their energy, their powers. She can mimic their powers, and in holding on, making contact too long with a person could actually kill the other person, and she could absorb their consciousness permanently. So she is really as strong as her opponent is. If she was to face an entire team of villains or heroes, if she made contact with each and every one of them, not only would she drain them of their power, but she would be able to use their power against them. If it was Superman she made contact with, well, then she would become as strong as Superman, and she would actually weaken him because of the effect that her touching him has. So she would actually be able to defeat Superman. However, this means that she has not been able to, when she was not able to control it, she was not able to experience intimacy. She wasn't able to experience skin contact with other people, and that may seem kind of trivial, but let's see, as a young girl growing up, she had to. Well, the first boy that she kissed, she put in a coma, and that messed her up. And so she had always had that pent up anger and frustration that she wasn't able to, not only the guilt over what she did to the boy, but she's always been worried that she can never have a relationship with somebody, a fully a full relationship with someone, because she couldn't make skin contact with them. And I guess even asexual people appreciate skin contact with the people that they love. And so now I think she might be back in control of that again, so that she could actually make contact with people. Now I think she can, but during these times where she couldn't, it was something that was really gave her a lot of angst. And I think having that as a and not only that, but she was also in this world classified as a mutant, and a mutant was, I guess it was an analogy for an oppressed minority. But unlike me, my skin color has a stigma. And I'm not even that dark, but my skin color, it comes with a stigma. My race comes with a stigma. But that is all in the person's mind. I don't actually present any more harm to anybody else than a white person does. But Rogue, however, her stigma was somewhat justified, because she really could do harm to someone else without even trying to do harm to them, based on her being a mutant. But yeah, the fear was still somewhat unjustified but at the same time, she was dangerous. And if she wanted to, she probably could take an entire army of men. Yeah, she could, not probably could. She could take an entire army on. So she was, the fear of her was justified, but at the same time it was also irrational. But through all of this, Rogue still had a playful um, personality, a very sexual air around her. She was very attractive, very feminine. She was very much in her feminine energy, and she was not as strong as she was. You see, in this one image, she's going up against She-Hulk, and She-Hulk is another character that I love. And She-Hulk in the past, now they're trying to change her. They're trying to masculinize her. She was the sensational She-Hulk. She was just as feminine, just as beautiful, and still tremendously strong. But um, getting back to Rogue, she was able to maintain the strength to lift a tank with one hand and chuck it a couple of miles and still be um, just an absolute stunning example of beauty and feminine qualities. But of course, that's some people just can't grasp that anymore these days, and it's really frustrating to see them try to turn female characters into men, basically. So, but back to her personality, she's very sensual. I guess she can use her sexuality to flirt with guys, and sometimes it gives her the upper hand because she can distract them that way. But also, uh, some people have, some writers in the past, I believe, have sort of perverted that and tried to make it so that, well, she's so hard up for physical contact. She's so desperate for some sort of intimacy that she'll swing the other way. She'll go for females too because she's so desperate for um, intimacy. And that's just not true. Nor is she a slut. Nor is she someone who will just lay with anybody, though she has been shown to kiss multiple guys. Um, and and part of that is in character, and sometimes it's actually, if you ask me, it's out of character. There, some people just like to, they don't understand her character, and they fetishize her, where they turn her into a um, an expression of their. She's not a loose slut. I'm just going to say that she's not a slut, so she shouldn't be portrayed that way, and she shouldn't be thought of that way because she's not that loose. Regardless of how much she desires that physical intimacy, she's not going to just lay with anybody the first chance she get. Like, you're not just going to be like, oh, you can control your powers now, so we can make contact, and you won't harm me. So regardless of who I am, whether you know me or not, you probably just give it to me. That's not. It doesn't work that way. She doesn't do that. So and now, thankfully, unfortunately I deleted the phone. I mean the comic book from my phone, so I can't show you. But thankfully, she has been restored into a relationship with Gambit, and I think I have an image of Gambit in here. It says, she is, to me, Gambit is her soulmate. I don't care what anybody else says. There's Gambit in the background in this middle picture. Gambit is her soulmate. Uh, Thankfully, she's been restored to a relationship with him, so nobody tries to pair her up with any lesbians or tries to pair her up with any with like Magneto again or some other crap. Just stick her with the person that she's supposed to be with, and that is Gambit, and just let her and let that and give them an actual stable relationship so we can have an example of a working heterosexual relationship in comics again. Um, so I think I've said almost everything I wanted to say about Rogue, but she's a wonderful character. I love her strength. I love her beauty. I love her the way she has faced adversity and overcome. And that's another thing about her character. I almost forgot one of the most important things about her character is that Rogue, since Rogue started off as a villain, when she had absorbed the consciousness of Miss Marvel, who is now Captain Marvel, but she had absorbed her consciousness and permanently had taken a portion of her power set. She had to deal with that guilt and also with that with part of Carol Danvers or Miss Marvel's consciousness being stuck inside her head, and it was driving her nuts. And she had to turn to the X-Men. She had to turn to the heroes for help. Now the heroes were like, "No way! You know, you hurt one of our friends. You hurt another. You hurt a fellow hero, and she was one of our friends. And you hurt her. We're not going to trust you. We're not going to let you in." And Professor X, he was there for her to, when others were trying to close the door on her or shut her out. Professor X was there. He was there to continue to try to help her through the difficult time she was enduring. And Rogue had to earn the trust and respect of the team that of the X-Men. She didn't just get it automatically. She didn't get it when she just showed up. She had to earn it, and she had to sacrifice for it. She had to take on others' pain. Like there was this one scene in I think it was in Chris Claremont's run. That was a couple decades ago, where Colossus, the guy who turns the metal, you've seen him in Deadpool. His entire body turns to metal. Colossus had sustained numerous injuries. However, his metal frame, his power to turn into metal, had made it so that he couldn't be. He needed to be. For some reason, I can't remember exactly why, but he was stuck in his metal form, and he couldn't be helped in that form. He needed to be restored to flesh so that he could be healed. So at a time when Rogue was still mostly rejected by this team, Rogue was like, I'm going to take this affliction. I'm going to make contact with him, and I'm going to take his injuries and his pain and everything he has upon myself so that he can be healed. And that's what she did. She laid her hand on him, and all the pain that he was enduring in silence because he was somewhat frozen, all of that was transferred to her, and she was just frozen in her face. She just had this agonized expression on her face, and she took that upon herself. And Storm at that moment said, I don't care what this child has done in the past. From now on, she's one of us because of that, what she just did for us and what she just did for our friend. So she had to sacrifice her own well-being, her own body, and possibly her life to earn her place with this team. She didn't just show up and get the job. And some fans of Captain Marvel are still holding a grudge against Rogue because while Captain Marvel or Ms. Marvel at the time had entered a sort of limbo, Rogue's popularity skyrocketed, and she became one of the most famous or popular female characters in comic books. And if you ask me, I think she's better than Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think she is. She is better than Wonder Woman, and she can kick Wonder Woman's butt. But anyway, so while she was rising in popularity, Ms. Marvel was sinking in sort of obscurity. And so writers, not only do writers, but fans still hold a grudge against Rogue. And so like in the comic where she had to earn people's trust, that she had to earn people's love and faith, in a way her character still has to do it today because of what she did in the past. And she's still suffering for her past mistakes. And this is something that I wish Lucasfilm would look at and learn how to make a great female character. And another character that is probably in my top tier is Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, way better than Barbara Gordon, Batgirl. And I'll probably talk about her at another time too. So I pretty much have a top three, and I guess I get into like a second ranked three later at another time or something. But I'll probably talk about Cassandra Cain or Aiko soon. So thanks for listening.